Hi everyone, this is my first attempt at a YouTube channel. I'm a little nervous, I don't usually do video, so we'll see how this goes. So I go by Emerald Mosaic online, and I have to say that all names are being changed to protect everyone's privacy. So what I'm hoping to accomplish with these videos is to inspire people. I have had a lot of people tell me that my story is inspiring and that they can tell how I've become a strong person because of what I've been through. And I can't disagree that I've become strong because of it. And it has been extremely difficult to get through a lot of things in my life. But I'm hoping that I can shine a light in a world that can seem so very dark. And so I figured I'd start off with some background about me so that you would have some idea of who is talking to you. So I was born in Pennsylvania, outside a small town, and I am the youngest of 7 kids. There's 3 boys and then 3 girls. And so a lot of things happened. It was definitely an abusive home. My dad was raised in a very abusive home, and you know the phrase hurting people hurt people, and that's very true in this case. My mom did what she could to shield us, and I love my mom for it. She is one of my biggest cheerleaders and one of my greatest inspirations, and I'll tell you more about her later. When I was a preteen, my mom and dad took me and the sister just older than me to Mexico as missionaries. Just side note, I'm not a Christian anymore, but I'm not knocking anyone's faith. If it's helping you, if it helps you get through life, please by all means don't ever drop your faith until it doesn't serve you anymore, which is what happened in my case. But anyway, so we were there in Mexico almost 3 years. I was fluent in Spanish. I think I've lost a lot of it, but, and my sister ended up, we'd left Texas after about 3 years, and she ended up, as soon as she finished high school, she moved back and a year later got married. They have 3 children. Their first baby died as a baby, but they have 3 living girls, and they are wonderful. I love my nieces to pieces. I have a tendency to rhyme when I am not planning to, so enjoy. Anyway, so back in Texas, I graduated high school, and I went to college, and my goal was to be a nurse. Well, college got interrupted. Life happened. That was when my sister's baby died. 1997 was the first worst year of my life. It's been superseded since then, but it really was the worst year of my life. So I went home and I worked at hotels, was front desk clerk. Eventually I did some night audit, and I was paying off the first university that I'd gone to. They loaned me some money so I could go there, and I owed them $3,000, and they wouldn't release my transcripts, so I had to work that off. My mom, bless her heart, she paid the last $75 of it, and I am so grateful to her. I did pay her back. So once I got my transcripts, I went back to nursing school. Forgot to mention, I got my LVN in the meantime, and that's licensed vocational nurse. So it's a step down from RN. An LVN has to be supervised by an RN, and there are certain things that an LVN just is not allowed to do. But I was really good at it, and I worked they made us work 2 years as an adult with 2 years with adults. And then after that we could choose our specialty. So I say that I put in my time because my goal was to work with children. It's always been to work with children. I love, 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 love children. I was so eager to have my own, but I didn't have a husband. But I went through nursing school down in San Antonio, and I got my Bachelor of Science in Nursing, and I had already started working as an LVN at the children's hospital there. Well, they ended up, I was supposed to get a contract with them to work for 2 years in exchange for an internship. And circumstances happened that they ended up releasing me from the contract, and I moved on to other areas of nursing. I did some school nursing, I did clinic, I did some more school nursing, I did some home health. I fell in love with home health, pediatric home health. You go to a client's home and you're there for a 6, 8, 10, 12-hour shift, whatever they need, whatever they're allowed by Medicaid. And you get to know these kids. You become their primary nurse, or regular nurse at least, and you get to know them. The families get to know you. You become an extension of the family in a lot of ways, also, depending on how long you work with a child. There were times when I had steady work, 40 hours a week, and then there were times when I was struggling to get 36. It's life. And there was one point where I was working 44 hours a week, and every 5 weeks I would work 56. Yeah, those were rough. But anyway, I loved being a nurse. I really did. I had planned on still being one, but life happened. Anyways, during this time, right after nursing school, I got married. And 4 years later, gave birth to my son. I love him to pieces. Oh my God. You can see behind me his baby picture and some of his artwork. I love it. That's an elephant. It was a birthday. No, that was Mother's Day. And then this one he just made up. He loves Minecraft. And I know it's backwards on the camera, but it says, "I explode hugs for you." And that's dynamite. Isn't that awesome? I mean, he came up with that all on his own. You can tell I'm proud of him. Anyways, about, 9 years after I got married, my ex and I divorced. Well, we separated, and right before what would have been our 10th anniversary, we divorced. And honestly, while it was rough, it was a good decision. I've heard it said that a successful relationship or marriage is one that ends when it's supposed to. And that one probably could have done to end sooner, but our son was 4 when we divorced. And yeah, it was really rough on him. But all in all, I think it really was the best decision, and good came out of it. Let's put it that way. I firmly believe that good always comes out of bad. I don't believe the whole everything happens for a reason, because that would mean that the bad things happen so that good can come out of them. No, I disagree. Good comes out of bad, especially when we try to bring good out of bad. That's the key. We have to work on that. I mean, yes, some things just kind of by chance, but it also helps when we're looking for it. Because we're looking for it. People say that you find happiness when you're not looking for it, and that can happen, but it helps to be looking for it. It really, really does. Helped me. So, before our divorce, I started to have some pretty serious health problems. And I had already been in counseling, and I got a psychiatrist for my psychological issues. I knew that I had, we called it a temper problem, and some of it was, but I have since learned that I have Asperger's. Well, the official diagnosis, according to the DSM-5, is autism spectrum disorder. Asperger's used to be like a separate diagnosis or a sub-diagnosis. It's not in the DSM anymore, but it basically means that I'm high enough functioning that I can function in society. but I'm quirky and a little weird, and sometimes people don't know what to deal with me, and sometimes I get really overwhelmed. And it looks like a temper tantrum. It's not. It can be hard to tell the difference, but usually it's I get so overwhelmed by emotion. And more on that later. So my health was going downhill, and I was actually looking at changing my work, maybe moving into a supervisor position or something that didn't involve walking, didn't involve using my hand. I have nerve pain and some other things that go on. The glove actually helps to stop the nerve pain. Usually, mostly. Anyways, so I'd been moving around Central Texas. I moved around there I was in Texas for 25 years and lived in several different towns there in Central Texas. And I finally moved to the town where my son and his dad and stepmom live. By the way, I love my son's stepmom. She is amazing. More on her later. But anyways, so soon after I moved there, I met at the social thing a young lady who was trans, male to female trans. We say a trans woman. And she had just started growing out her hair from the guy's haircut she had. She was dressing very girly and had a very cute skirt on and kind of looked like a 70s flower child almost. And just she was very animated and made a lot of jokes and was funny. And at one point she said that she had Asperger's, and I was like, hey, I have Asperger's too. And she goes, Aspies unite, and I gave her the high five, you know. And so she and I started talking, and well, we fell in love, and we got married within a few months. It's kind of crazy, but it felt right, and I don't regret it one bit. I really don't. Not at all. Soon after that, there came a day when I just couldn't go to work. I had my scrubs on. I had my bag ready to go. I had my lunch packed. And I couldn't walk out the door. And I found out later that's anxiety. It wasn't a panic attack. It was just, I was stopped cold. I couldn't move. I just couldn't get up from my seat and walk toward the door. So I called into work and I said I need to take an extended leave of absence. And Natalie had already been talking to me about filing for disability. Natalie is my wife's name. I'm not changing her name because she is no longer with us. So Natalie had talked to me. She had already said that I would definitely qualify for disability, which really shocked me because at the time I was working. Well, when anxiety hit and I couldn't walk out that door and go to work, I figured, well, I guess it's time to apply for disability. Just FYI, as of now, I'm still in the process, and my hearing keeps getting delayed because of coronavirus. Yay. Anyway, but with me unable to work, she was already on disability, but hers was not enough to cover the rent and everything, and my medical bills were piling up. I couldn't even afford my health insurance. It was getting so bad. Plus, I was paying child support because I didn't have primary custody of my son. And I just couldn't. And so we spent 2 months packing. We had paid rent for that 1 month, and we knew that after not paying the second month, we would have until the end of that month to get out. So we spent 2 months sorting, unpacking, deciding what would go in the car and what would go in a 3x3x3 storage unit. That's not all that much stuff. And we couldn't take my car because it got broken into. Yay. And we ended up junking it for $300. It was more than we had. And we got into her Nissan Versa, which is a tiny car, with the cat at the end of March of 2017, and we left Texas. We traveled around trying to find a good place, and we landed in Iowa. And so I'm living in eastern Iowa and have a wonderful apartment here. We stayed at first at a DV shelter, domestic violence shelter, because her family had abused her seriously, and her sister was stalking her, trying to find her so that they could get her back. More on that later. And so we were able to stay in the domestic violence shelter, and then we went to another city where we were more likely to find housing, and stayed in the women's shelter here. And so we found an apartment. Now, right before we found the apartment, she had a routine stomach surgery, and she had one complication a few days later that she had to go back into the hospital. It was easily fixed, but she still had to stay there several days to make sure she was recovering all right. And then while she was, like, the last day we were in the hospital, that morning, she found this apartment. And we went to look at it the next day, loved it, signed the lease, moved in, and 2 days later she got a fever. And she was in ICU for a little over a week. And her liver failed, her kidneys failed, and I finally told them that it was time. And so on August 30th of 2017, my wife passed away. Some days I can talk about it and it doesn't really show on my face at all. Then there's days like today where it really does. But I survived. I had no money. My mom, bless her heart, she sent me $500. And there was a program that enabled us to get the apartment that paid a part of the rent, and then it was based on income. And so after Natalie passed away and I no longer had her income, they paid 100% of the rent. The county helps out now, and I have food stamps, I have Medicaid, so those are taken care of. But for non-food items, I had a cat, and I needed cat litter and cat food. I had some donated by some new friends that I made. I didn't know anybody here at first. The only people I knew were business associated. I didn't have any friends. And I just got on Meet Me, and I'd been on and off Meet Me for years. And if Meet Me would like me to advertise for them and give them some business, I could do that. Anyway, I made some friends. I put out kind of a cry for help, that I just needed help with my cats. Well, cat at the time. Later I brought in a second one. And so I got some help here and there scattered, and then I met a wonderful man who I started dating that right after Christmas that year. And a lot of people would say, that's too soon, you haven't grieved long enough. And then I had other people saying, she would want you to be happy and you should have already started dating somebody. And people tell you how to grieve. Don't let them. You grieve at your pace. You can't grieve at anybody else's. I mean, nobody else's pace. Only yours. I am now single again. The guy I was dating did help financially support me for a while, and he has reached his limit. And so I'm working on hopefully raising some monthly income that I can live off of while I'm trying to get disability. So I have one person who is already promised $50 a month, and it's a loan. I'm going to pay them back. And the same goes for anybody that gives me any money or anything during this time. I'm going to pay them back when I get my disability. That's one of the first things. I pay my lawyer. I pay back and then I'll pay back anybody else who has lent me any money or given me anything. This video is not to raise money. That's not the purpose. It's to inspire people. It's to show people that you can get through hell. You can find hope on the other side. That's what I'm trying to accomplish. But if you did like this and you want to hear more, if this touched you in any way, then I hope you'll at least hit subscribe and maybe comment. And if there's any particular part of my story that you specifically want me to tell more about, I'd gladly do that. I really seriously hope I haven't offended anybody by this. That's not at all my goal. But, you know, I had lost my optimism through grief and being homeless and all that. And it has taken a lot of hard work in therapy, the right meds, and the support of all the wonderful people in my life to get through. I have found my optimism again, and that's part of why I'm doing this, to hopefully help somebody else find their optimism too. So if you are so inclined and would like to send a few dollars my way, even if it's $1, honestly, that every tiny little bit helps. You can send it via PayPal. It is emeraldmosaic@gmail.com. That's emeraldmosaic@gmail.com. I would greatly appreciate any little bit that you can send. That is on PayPal. Thank you for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this, and I'll try to send out another video maybe next week. Y'all take care.